there can be waves or wind or anything coming in. But now, with this southerly gale that's blowing right now, it's just like insane. This is Malou, sailing somewhere on the seven seas. And this is me, her captain, trying to steer her out into the unknown to be able to find that one very special spot. Consider subscribing and welcome on board. I am heading up the steep little road towards the western cape of the Statland, and I've been heading that road and all the way down from that valley down here, and around that corner is where Malou is situated at the moment. It's mostly been uphill and the wind in my face so far, but later on when the sun is setting and I'm going back home, I'm just gonna be rolling like a bloody river. If it's something that they like here on the west coast of Norway, it's jeeps. They have them everywhere, on the islands, on the mainland. Like here, they're just roaming freely and doing whatever they like. Hello! Some old Viking settlements, perhaps, with quite a nice view over when your enemies is approaching from the north. This tree that I'm sitting by right here must be the most badass tree to have ever lived, because it's standing on its own on the top of the west point of the Statland. One of the most stormy areas in the whole world, basically. I'm not sure if this tree actually was growing here from the start. Can't really find any information about it, but if it was, then it must have been some kind of Viking tree that was just like holy somehow, with a lot of sacrifices to the heathen gods and stuff like that. But it truly is a champ of a tree. I'm gonna jump on my little bike again and roll more or less all the way down to Malou and the heat, because it's getting a little bit cold up here. And I'm gonna mount you in the front of the bike so I can take you on this journey with me. Let's hope this works out. Okay, here we go. I'm like bike kiting right now. Just flat road and still going quite fast actually. I hope there's no chiefs in the road, because I'm not sure that I can stop fast enough for the chief. This is gonna be so good. Oh no! The chain jumped. What is happening? The chain came on the outside. Come on, chain. Do what you're supposed to do. With this bike, anything can happen. It can just fall apart at any second and just explode into a million pieces. Look at this scenery. Oh, not going too fast now, Gustav. Gustav, slow down. You're a little bit uphill before we're starting going down again. It's the first time that I'm actually biking inside a tunnel. In a lot of tunnels in Norway, at least, I think in other countries as well, it's not even allowed to bike. But in this tunnel, when you get to the entrance, you got this little passage button for bikes. You just click the button, then you wait for green light, and when you get it, you just bike through the tunnel. Back on Malou after a pretty crazy bike ride. Now in here it's warm and toasty and cozy. So I'm just gonna lie down now, read a book, and don't do much at all. I never actually experienced this before, that it's such a small protected harbor. Like there's basically nowhere where there can be waves or wind or anything coming in. But now with this southerly gale that's blowing right now, it's just like insane how it's blowing outside. Like the fenders are flying up from the side, landing on the deck, and I don't know, like this whole boat is just rocking around, and I don't know, it's crazy. But I think I prepared most things now for the night, and hopefully it's gonna work out well. It's been we were well tied up and everything, so it should be fine. But it's just interesting how, because it's like now in the gusts it's definitely more than gale, it's definitely towards storm forces, and that's not what it's blowing in the actual wind. So it's acceleration winds that's coming down from the valley, from the tops around it, basically. But I think I'm gonna sleep well anyways. We are leaving the Statland behind us. Wind report was pretty good today for sailing to Olesund. We got more or less like a gale straight in our back, so we're gonna go be blasting past some islands, through some sounds, and be quite exciting sailing today, I think. If we would have stayed in Honningsvår, the wind during the night, because during the night today it was like almost a gale from the south, and it was like pounding super much wind. And tonight it's gonna be even more wind from the south, so I was just like, nah, I don't want to be in that tiny harbor when that happens. So probably we're gonna go to Olesund instead, this town that so many people are talking about as the most beautiful town there is, more or less. That's gonna be quite nice. Wind rudder is steering, doing the job for me, while I'm just sitting here contemplating what to do next. Either listen to some kind of podcast or music or something. And yeah, my cap, my trusty old cap, which I've been wearing way too much lately, it blew off when I left Honningsvår, and I turned around and trying to catch it with a hook, but I barely reached it, and then I just saw it just slowly sinking. So I was quite sad, but at least it's got its last rest at a beautiful place. We're getting closer to this sound where we're gonna go. It's quite narrow, quite shallow. I'm gonna go under a bridge, and I don't know, maybe we're gonna be just surfing into this sound on the waves. I hope there's not much like tidal current or anything in there. I guess there could be, but well, we'll see. There's nothing on avionics that actually says that there's tidal current in there, but you never really know, so we'll stay alert and see what happens, I guess. It seems like we actually got a little bit of current against us heading in here, so I'm going to be taking over from the autopilot, just holding the rudder, let the wind pilot assist me as well, and trying to steer as stable as possible through this narrow area here, and just be ready to start the engine if anything unexpected would happen. But I think this is gonna work out, but now I'll have to take action here. Those two bridges actually went way smoother than I thought. Just had an in between them, you had like flat water, just perfect downwind sailing, full speed. Now when I came out, it's these islands around here, pretty high islands, and when I'm sailing with the wind rudder, it's pretty dependent on that the wind is coming from more or less the same direction all the time. Otherwise the wind rudder is just going to shift the direction of the boat all the time, more or less. And now the wind is really unstable, uneven, and it's just shifting direction kind of all the time. So I just had to sit here and just compensate for that with the autopilot kind of. And the autopilot is still not working. I'm gonna try to calibrate it someday here, next few days, to see if I can make it work. Because in situations with like this, when the winds are just back and forth all the time, it's actually better with an autopilot than the old trusty wind rudder back there. We are approaching the infamous city of Olesund after a really good sail, actually. Now the big swell from the ocean is coming in again here, so it's been rocking a little bit the last part, but otherwise we had sustainable winds more or less all the time. Even though there's really high islands around here, the wind is, I mean, it's like a gale, so it's it managed to push us through anyways, and give us good speed. So in I don't know, like 40 minutes or something, we should be safely in the guest harbor. And I desperately need a shower now. maybe go to a pub or something, grab a beer. I haven't done that yet on this trip, so that would be nice. Celebrating coming to Olesund, which is more or less half the way actually to Tromsø, so that's a nice milestone. There's supposed to be some guest docks in the outer part of this area, and then as you go like into the canal kind of, there's supposed to be more docks as well. So we're probably gonna go as far in as possible and check that out. It seems like there's some swell coming in as well, so I'm trying to get away from that swell as much as I possibly can. Hey, hello. Thanks for the help. We are tied up and feeling cozy here in Olesund. First time on this trip that I'm putting up this tent over the cockpit. It's quite neat actually to have something like, it's not completely closed around, but it gives you good shelter from the rain and a little bit from the wind as well. So it's just nice to have a little bit thing like that, because it's gonna be raining quite a lot the next few days, I think. So then this is definitely coming in handy. Good windy morning, everybody. Just have a second look at this. Wow, that's just something extra, isn't it? Since it's such a gloomy and rainy and windy day here in Olesund, I figured I'm going to be showing you guys how I make one of my lifelines when I'm going on deck, leaving the cockpit. I already got one of these, but I want to have a second one as well. So I'm just gonna break it down a little bit how I'm thinking and all that when it comes to the lifelines. So my idea with having a second one is to be able to have two attached to me at the same time, so I'll never have to unclip when being on deck. So just having a spare one and going on and off is good to have. And it's also good to have if you have someone else on the boat or something like that, or if you're sitting in cockpit and it's really rough weather and you want to connect yourself in 2 points, that's also really nice. So first off, just connect the hook with basically any kind of knot. You can make a bow line. Just make sure to give some extra line here so you can't go up, and then just tie another knot onto here. I'm just not gonna do any particular knot at the moment, just so show the purpose. Now when I'm taking the length of this line, it's not gonna be like this long, like 2 meters long, that a lot of lifelines are, because I want to be able to clip in and like move really close to the deck, and of course then I want to be able to stand up a little bit by the mast as well. But I'm gonna be able to do that because my lifeline is running just around the mast, a little bit up, which will give me more or less that I can stand more or less straight up, but then this one will be tight for sure. So that's the whole idea, being able to like barely stand up like this. So this one will be completely tight at that moment. And the whole idea with this, so you don't fall overboard at any time basically. So this is the maximum length that I would actually use for these kind of lines. And some people use clips at both ends, but I'll usually just tie myself at this end and then use a clip on this end. So I'm able to just quickly adjust the length of the line if I would have to do that in some way. Just keep a little bit longer line, not as long as this one, but just slightly longer, so I'm able to control the length of this. And as I said, the whole idea is just so I never go overboard if something would happen, if I would fall, because if you go overboard, it doesn't really matter if you're clipped in, you're going to be smashed against the boat, and that's going to most likely be the end of it anyway. So buying finished lines like this one, or just finished safety lines that are like 2 meters long or anything like that, it kind of makes sense if you're on a really big boat where you don't fall overboard in 2 meters length, but on a small boat like this one where like 1 meter is how far it is to the side of the boat, then 2 meters of line is just, it just doesn't make any sense at all. Then it's better to don't have any line at all, to be honest. So that's how I do it. And yeah, just really simple, just really regular stiff line like this one. Don't need anything particular. This one takes over 1,000 kilos in weight, so it's gonna be able to hold me no problem.